Hello again, and welcome to Deerfield Library's series of tips and tricks for you to try at home. We're back in Blender for this one, and this time I'm going to be showing you some of the basic ways you can navigate this interface. So, I've laid out some objects here that we can start messing with in a bit, but I'm first going to show you how to change your settings to be a bit more standard for the industry. So you're going to want to go here to Edit, to Preferences, and then you're going to want to go to Key Map, and you're going to want to click this drop down and choose Industry Compatible. Then you can just close this out. So Blender's been around for a really long time, since about 2002, and it kind of carved out its own style of navigating. But you can also change it to this setting here, which is called Industry Standard. This changes the key map so that it much more closely mimics how many modern 3D development software suites operate. So first off, you have orbiting. This allows you to orbit the viewport around any selected object you may have. To orbit, hold down the Alt key and click and drag the left mouse button. You should see that the viewport is now rotating like this. The focus of the rotation can also be adjusted by pressing F once you've selected the object you want to focus on. So let's try this sphere here. I'm going to press F, and now that is the focal point of the scene. And I can do that with the cube here too, the cylinder here, the plane here. So now that we have our desired object in view, the viewport is rotating around it. You can also pan the viewport like this by holding down Alt and pressing down on the mouse wheel button while dragging. This is good if something is kind of off screen and you want to move it on screen. It's just another tool in the toolbox for navigating a 3D workspace. To zoom in and out, simply scroll the wheel. Probably the simplest one here. And so by combining these tools, you can make navigating in the most complex of projects a breeze. So now you know how to navigate the viewport, but you want to actually start making something. So let's get rid of these guys here. Up here, you'll see the Add tab, where you can find a drop-down of different kinds of objects with various types of purposes. The simplest, though, would just be the mesh type of objects, which are what most video games and animated movies use. So let's add a cube. You can see it isn't actually right here at the origin. Since this is a 3D space, it uses a 3-point axis to determine location using the X, Y, and Z coordinates that you can see right up here. You can reset any object to be here at the origin when you want to be working where you want to be working most of the time. If you ever export a mesh to be used in a game or film, you definitely want it to be at 0, 0, 0, which you can see if I go into the object properties, it is not in the location. It is a bit off from 0, 0, 0. Luckily, you can reset that transform by pressing Alt W, and that will reset the object to the origin of the scene. So with an object, there are 3 types of transforms that you can apply which alter its shape or location. After selecting an object, press W to show the Move gizmo, the one that I have right here, which allows you to alter the location of the object. Pressing E shows you the Rotate gizmo, which allows you to, you guessed it, rotate the object. R shows the Scale gizmo, which lets you do basic deformations on an object on either 1, 2, or all 3 axes at once. And this actually applies to all of the gizmos. So you can move on 2 axes, 1 axis, or all 3 of them. You can also rotate on 1 axis or all 3 of them. And then for scaling, you can scale on 1 axis, 2, or all 3 and make it a uniform scale. Also, if you have Blender 2.8 or later, you can toggle different kinds of scale tools, including one much more akin to what you would find in a 2D software using a bounding box rather than a scale gizmo. So it looks a bit like this. It's a bit more, as I said, familiar to how a 2D suite operates. So it's handy for certain kinds of scaling. So with all of these tools, you may have an idea of what you could be making, but the current tools don't really give you a lot of freedom when it comes to changing the shape. There's 3 different modes you can enter for any object that's a mesh type, meaning one made up of polygons. By selecting an object and pressing 1, you enter vertex mode. Each mesh is made up of faces, which in turn are formed from vertices. These are single points in space that represent the location in the 3D space. You can adjust these points the same as you would an entire object. It does look weird, though, when you only adjust single vertices. So if you press 2, you can go into edge mode. With edge mode, you can select the edge, which is formed by 2 neighboring vertices. Pressing 3 allows you to manipulate faces, which are formed when 3 or more vertices are connected. 3 vertex faces are called tris, while 4 vertex faces are called quads. You can see that this is a quad right now because it has 1, 2, 3, 4 vertices connecting it. However, if I select this face and use the triangulate command, you can see that it splits this quad into 2 tris, which now have 3 vertices comprising each one. With faces selected, you can press Ctrl E to extrude faces. This creates more geometry to work with. It's a good tool for creating extra shape in an object that might not exist in something as basic as a cube. Now pressing 4 returns you to object mode, where you can create and select other objects. In edit mode, you can't select other objects. So if you want to select something else, you need to go back to object mode. 5 takes you to the sculpting mode from the previous video. So with these couple of tools, you can start adding objects while getting more familiar with the interface. Join us for the next video where we'll show you how to prepare an object to be 3D printed. Thanks for watching and hope you have a great day.